listening to a podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants with hosts Willie Dills, Chad King, and Ben Lee.
Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Let's go Giants! SF Giants! Dedicated to the greatest team in Major League Baseball history, the San Francisco Giants. This is Torture Cast.
Welcome, everybody, to the Torture Cast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. My name is Willie Dills. This is episode 49, the Javier Lopez episode. So we're going to underhand this entire episode to you guys. We're going to sidewind it. We're going to change sight lines. We're going to change arm slots. It's going to be amazing.
And we hope that you're all lefties.
That's right. We're all lefties. Actually, I do play pool left-handed. That's the only thing I do left-handed.
What?
But, yeah, I don't know why. You've never noticed that? We've played pool together.
No, I never noticed that.
Yeah, it's actually one of those, you don't really notice like what hand people use to play pool unless you play all the time. And
like I'm ambidextrous when it comes to like sweeping, but
okay. I'm not ambidextrous.
Different.
It's very bizarre. I cannot play pool right-handed. Or I can, but barely. It's like throwing with my left hand. It's very weird.
But you can't bat left-handed, can you?
No, I'm awful. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
By the way, the voices you hear speaking to me are, of course, Chad King. Welcome back, Chad.
How's it going?
It's going good, and we're really happy to have Ben Lee here with us because he's missed a couple episodes. So, Ben, welcome back. He's laid up, but he's here.
Thanks, you guys. Nice to be on my rehab assignment after a little stint on the 15-day DL.
That's right, yeah. You know, we were talking about making room on the 40-man roster and putting you on the 60-day, but we went ahead and held off because we knew, we needed to get you back in there. So, welcome back.
I realize Eric is kind of a hot prospect for us right now, but
that's, you know what? He's still got to work on his fundamentals. But yeah. So we got a lot to talk about since we did miss a show. So let's just jump right in. The Giants have been scuffling. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Chad, you actually put this in. I put this in as well earlier. Total record since our last show is 5-8, and it felt a lot worse than that. I got to be honest.
It was worse at the end of last week, so it was
That's
like
true.
1 and 5.
This was definitely a bit better of a week overall.
Well, we won 2 series in a row, thankfully, by taking 2 out of 3 over the Nationals and then 2 out of 3 over the Cardinals, the Rockies.
Yeah.
But the week before that, prior when we missed the show. I just told you guys this prior to the start of this show that I was a little happy not to have to talk about the Giants after that week. It was pitiful. I mean, it wasn't just that we were losing.
Podcast.
Yeah, that's right. The Giants start losing, we're done, dude. We're looking for World Series after World Series around here. But no, it was like watching
bandwagon.
It was like watching a little league team play in the majors for a little while there. It was the Bad News Bears. I mean, the Giants were kicking the ball around, overthrowing people, not backing up the correct base. Just everything that you could think of that you could do wrong seemed to be going on. And it was one of those situations where it wasn't just 1 game, 2 games. It was 6 games in a row almost, it felt like, where the Giants just looked terrible out there. And you can't really explain it. We know this team is capable of playing very, very good ball. We saw it down the stretch last year. We saw it all through the playoffs. And these are pretty much the same guys. So, Chad, do you have any explanation for what happened last week?
No, I'm just thankful that the Giants are actually still competitive. They're only 1 game behind Arizona after today. They started, today tied with the Diamondbacks. But I'm just going to say this. If the Giants had pitching or hitting like they did last year, they'd be like 6, 7, 8 games behind. They'd be down with the Dodgers right now, basically.
No, absolutely. The offense is picking up the slack in a big way so far this year, but it's just weird as Giants fans to watch this team struggle to throw the ball and struggle to catch the ball.
And then succeed in hitting the ball, because it's usually totally the other way around.
No, we've gotten used to a Giants team that basically wins 2-1, 3-2, 1-0 ball games all the time. And, we're giving up 3-4 runs in the first inning on 2 and 3 errors. I mean, it was just
winning.
It was unbelievable what was happening. The Toronto 2-game series is maybe the worst 2 games of baseball I've ever watched the Giants play. I'm trying to remember 2 straight days that were just that god awful from the.
Dave Fleming would agree with you. I was listening to that one in Santa Cruz while I was driving, and he was describing that inning where they melted down with Zito pitching. I think it was 6 runs in the first inning or what have you. And part of it was definitely Zito. He gave up 6 or 7 hits, but of course that was extended as far as the opportunities were concerned. By the fact that they made 3 errors in that first inning, and it wasn't just the
out of
errors.
the inning a lot faster. Right.
There were other errors that weren't technically errors. It was like the drop ball at second base on a potential double play, things that aren't recorded as errors, missed cutoffs, things like that are not recorded as errors. And he actually said, and I quote, "I think this is the worst inning of Giants baseball I have ever witnessed." And for a broadcaster who, they usually have to try to keep their opinions to a certain level or decorum, that's pretty strong. So,
Realize that all I can think of now is that was the worst base running in the history of the game.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Well, that was John Miller.
That was John Miller.
That was pretty spectacularly bad also, but still.
That audio was actually on an
call.
episode of this podcast.
That's just one event, right? It's just one dude making a bad mistake.
Yeah.
That was Ruben Rivera.
Yeah, Ruben Rivera running
Ruben
from
Rivera.
first to second, back to first, then back to second,
and then back to second, back to third,
Over and second,
and then getting thrown out at third. Right?
It was the Benny Hill music was definitely queued up in the background.
Yeah,
I think
unbelievable.
somebody probably recut that one with the Benny Hill music. I hope so.
It's gotta be out there somewhere. But it was
Series of highlights from the Blue Jays games because it was pretty spectacular.
It was weird because it wasn't, maybe you expect to see, Pablo Ball here and there. But, you were seeing like Crawford make mistakes. You were seeing Scudero make mistakes. You're seeing Pagan make mistakes. You're seeing a lot of guys who are kind of known for being solid in the field make pretty egregious mistakes out there. And not just I'm booting a ball. I mean, mental errors, throwing it and, way over people's heads. Yeah, like you said, dropping balls, not backing plays up. It was like they just forgot how to play baseball. And I know Bochy had some meetings and stuff, and they've definitely looked a little better in the field since then. But it was, it was kind of depressing as a Giants fan to watch the Giants melt down that badly, especially we all wanted to play the Blue Jays good, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Going back and seeing Melky again, and this Blue Jay team who is not quite playing up to the potential that they were supposed to have at the beginning of this year, but still a team that we thought would be good competition, and we wanted to show up for that 2-game series. And we did not. We just did not. And then we followed it up with another bunch of stinkers right afterwards. So I got to say, though, I'm feeling much better after, when we take 2 out of 3 from the Nationals, that's good. That's a really quality ball club. And we got back on top of our game there a little bit, and then 2 out of 3 over the Rockies we really needed because those guys are playing out of their minds right now. I got to say, I don't see the Rockies as being the team that's still there down the stretch. I still think it's the Diamondbacks who are going to be our biggest competition if the Dodgers can't figure it out. But you got to look at the Rockies and say they got something going. Something's working over there. But yeah, only 1 game out, like you said, Chad. So we got away with one there, basically. It's almost like the guy makes an out with a runner at third and less than 2 outs, and the next guy gets a base hit. We kind of picked ourselves up by taking 4 out of those 6 games. So,
well, I mean, luckily during the first usually like 3 months or so of the season, nobody really wants to win the NL West, and then sometime after the All-Star break, suddenly guys are like, oh yeah, I guess we should be worrying about that, huh?
The NL West right now is definitely not playing up to the potential that I thought.
No, the NL West we had like 1 year where the NL West was a powerhouse, and before and after that, it's just been like so steamrolled.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we all thought the Dodgers were going to be better, obviously, but sure. I think we're a little surprised that everybody's still pretty bunched up right now. I mean, we got 3 teams who are all within 1 game, right? I think so. We're 1 back of AZ. Is Colorado tied with us, or are we above or below them? I don't have it up right now.
I can bring it up here.
Yeah, let's take a look.
Arizona is 1 game above. Colorado, I believe, is 1 game back still.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're all bunched up pretty good, and you're right, Ben. That like this is not only is it that maybe teams don't really care about trying to win the division now. You can't. So there's no real point. Right now it's just about
sure. But historically, this division has always kind of underperformed, especially in the first half of the season.
Yeah.
The last, certainly the last few seasons. With I know there's one season exception in there, and I want to say it was last year, where the Giants had one of the best records. But for a while, it's just sort of like, well, we could take this to let's just make it close. It'll be more exciting later.
Well,
it
I think
kind of seems like it's always that.
I think we're setting ourselves up for a pretty exciting finish to this season, because it looks like there's going to be some movement throughout the year. I'm hoping the Giants can just run away with this thing, though. I mean, we definitely have the team, right? Let's move on to the next thing here, because this is actually pretty big. Actually, Chad, why don't you go ahead and talk about where we were last year compared to now?
Yeah, so we've been doing this obviously for this year, and last year we won the World Series, and so it's kind of a good barometer to set ourselves our expectations against. And of course, the Dodgers had the huge start last year. So last year we were actually one game worse after 51 games at 27 and 24. But the big thing is that we were 5.5 games back of LA at the time, and right now we're only one game back. So as far as total standings, we're one game better than this time last year, which is, that's kind of a wash. But as far as in the standings, we're basically 4.5 games better than we were at this point last year. So again, I mean, we all know that the Giants won by 8 games last year. So that's after overcoming a 5.5 game deficit at this point. So that's a 13.5 game swing. So there's so much time left. We're not even a third of the way through the season, and anything can happen. But I agree with you. I think Arizona is probably the main competition right now. I mean, Colorado has obviously made one World Series. It's not that they can't do this. I just don't see them sustaining this.
No, definitely not. I mean, the pitching just tires out in Colorado, and they have to have so much depth to be able to really maintain this. And even though they are kind of known as a team that comes on strong towards the end, it's just I just don't see it happening with this team this year. So I do think it's going to be us in Arizona down the stretch. But real quick, before we talk about the kind of the biggest story that's happened within the last couple weeks, I'm just going to real quick talk about my experience at the Giants game yesterday. I went to the game on Sunday. And it was a memorial for my Uncle Hal Hirsch, who passed away about 3 weeks or so ago. And he had been battling cancer for a couple years. But, he was a huge Giants fan, loved to watch the Giants games. We always talked about the Giants every time I went up to visit him in Antioch. And his wife, actually, my aunt, was I've described her on this show before. She was the one who really kind of always put me in front of a Giants game when I was a really small kid. And she, purchased the little cable package you had to have. I think you actually had to get a special box at the time to watch Giants games, besides the ones that were on network television. So, they were a big part of me growing up as a huge Giants fan. And, so he recently passed, and we didn't have a funeral, like a regular funeral, but we did have a memorial game where we got a luxury suite and about 25 or so family plus some friends and stuff like that. But like my grandparents flew in, a couple of my other aunts from Texas, so we had a bunch of people come in, and we all went to the game, and we had plans to have the his name and everything would go up on the board. We were all really hoping the Giants would win, because obviously it would make the day that much more special to be able to kind of have more of a celebration there and not have to worry about the Giants losing the game. So there's a little pressure, I think, on the Giants from coming out of our luxury box anyway. But it was really, really fun. It was really great to see everybody there. Everybody was in their Giants gear, and we had signs and stuff that we were making. We had a big picture of him. And one sign in particular, my cousin Stacy made, and she, right towards the beginning of the game, we were all just like, okay, well, we have all these big pieces of cardboard, and we have a bunch of pens if anybody wants to make signs. So she makes a sign, Rip Hal Hirsch, Buster, hit one for my dad, our MVP is what it said. I'm pretty sure. And I posted a picture of it onto Facebook so you can see. But she makes this in the first inning, and I think it's the second inning. Because they went 1, 2, 3, I think, in the first. And in the second inning, Buster comes up. My mom says, everybody put your signs up, put the Buster Posey sign up, put the Buster Posey sign. So he puts up the Buster Posey sign, and I swear to God, like almost instantly, Buster goes yard. And it was just one of those just kind of surreal moments, you know, because I saw her make the sign. I was like, that's awesome. It would be so great if he actually did hit a home run. And then, boom, he hits a home run. And it was just, you know, we're losing the game 2-1. And specifically to ask for Buster to hit one, I mean, it was just one of those kind of surreal moments where baseball kind of transcends just it being a regular game. And, like, you kind of almost feel my uncle like hanging out with us at that moment, being like, yeah, that's right. Buster did hit one for me, you know? So I just wanted to kind of talk about that because it was an amazing moment. And my entire family, that's a home run that's going to go down in history. It's going to get talked. I mean, in about 20 years, that's going to have been a grand slam in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs.
No, of
the
course.
way we're going to, you know what I mean? Like, that story is just going to continue to get told. And it's just really, really cool. And big shout out to the Giants for winning that game for my Uncle Hal. And also big shout out to all the people who manage the concierges and stuff down, who manage the luxury suite area. Because they made a couple mistakes. They forgot to put his name up on the board. And a couple of my cousins kind of gave him a little bit of a talking to, and they were very accommodating, and they actually got his name back up in the 7th inning. So it was really, really cool of the Giants to treat us so well. And, you know, that's exactly what I expected from this organization. I mean, they're just kind of a classy organization all the way around. So fantastic day at the yard. And even Srabian tweeted back at me. So it was just a cool day. Cool day all around. All right, let's talk about the Giants and what's going on with them. So big story has to be Vogelsong. Vogelsong. Now, I didn't actually see the play. So you guys saw the play. Can you describe exactly what happened? Because it was a little bit weird, I think, how he broke his pinky.
He was swinging at a pitch. I mean, it was a pitch that came in tight in on his hands. He thought he could get some wood on it, and he got some bone on it instead.
Yeah.
I mean,
but from what I heard, it was way inside, like a pitch he should really have been ducking out of the way of. And he instead turned
it was a cutter.
And batting judgment.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a cutter, and it buried in. And I think most, non-pitchers would have never swung at that. But given the fact that he gets, 40, 50 at-bats a year, I think it's just an experience. And
it's tough to focus like that.
Yeah, he swung at it, and it got him on the pinky.
He thought he was going to be able to kind of tuck in and get it, and it bent in on him and just caught him on the pinky.
Now, but, to me, this also begs the question, should we be coaching our pitchers to basically look outside and anything inside, just turn your pitching arm and hand and everything away? Just protect yourself is more important than anything you can do with the bat. It seems to me like you should.
Which arm or hand he gets hit on, though. I mean, you break a finger, you're out for a while.
True that. But if you break a finger on your non-pitching hand, you could be back a little quicker.
Right.
It's not going to be 6 to 8 weeks. It could be a month, maybe. You just have to be able to catch again with that hand.
Yeah.
So, but you know what I'm saying? So Tim Lincecum throws righty and actually hits lefty, meaning his right arm is completely exposed when he's at the plate.
Yep.
And I always kind of think he should always just be getting the hell out of the way of everything. And Tim Lincecum is a very timid hitter. He doesn't go up there trying to whack the ball. He's not Matt Cain up there or anything. But I think it's just one of those things. Like, you should, while we're teaching our catchers how to avoid injury when they're making plays at the plate, we should be teaching our pitchers when they're hitting, right, to just avoid anything inside. Like, we don't want you guys getting hit, period.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those random coincidences where, he made a bad judgment. There's no question about it. But I think he made a bad judgment on an inside fastball that actually was a cutter.
Yeah.
And so it broke that extra, few inches inside. And it really could have been much worse, because if you consider that his right hand is his top hand as he's swinging, since he's a right-handed batter. And typically when, you're going to get hit on a hand on a jam ball, it's going to be your index or middle finger. It's usually not as far down as what happened. So it could have been his index or middle finger, but instead it slid a little bit further down to his pinky. So it's bad, but I think it really could have been worse, because if it did hit him on those first 2 fingers, I think he might be out a little bit longer. So,
well, his pinky on his pitching hand. Yeah, he's not a guy who throws me like a circle change or a knuckleball or anything, right?
No, but I was listening to Kruko, and they were asking about that same thing, and they said, hey, look, it's not his non-throwing hand, it's his pitching hand, but at the same time, it's the pinky, and as far as pitches are concerned, the pinky is literally involved in almost zero grips, except maybe a knuckle or something, and even circle change It's on the
I do
outside.
most of it on the middle two fingers, yeah.
Yeah, so it's usually, the thumb, the first in the middle, a little bit of the ring, but generally the pinky is not involved. But Kruko was talking about the weight and the balance of it. And whenever you have something that is just an appendage hanging off the edge here, even if it's broken or if it has a pin in it or has a scar tissue on it or what have you, it's not only the feel of the ball, it's really kind of the feel that you're talking about, but also the fact that you're going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. And of course, your arm's going to atrophy. So you have to build that arm strength back up. It's not like you can just pop right back in after 4 weeks of not throwing or 6 weeks of not throwing and be able to throw like you were before. So, and gain a different feel to it. So it's going to be interesting to see, when he comes back in maybe 6 or 8 weeks, if he's going to be able to regain that form that he had prior to it, because as we all know, he was very much struggling, but that particular game, he suddenly had 5 innings of shutout ball and 2 hits, and suddenly we're thinking, oh my God, this is the first start he's had where he's got 5 innings and no runs.
That was his big, he was actually making a comeback, right there. Yeah, he hadn't
had a start like that all year long. I mean, he's had a couple of great innings, but he hasn't had a continuous start like that. And then it was like boom, it's getting hit, hitting the gut. So
it was real bad luck, Vogelsong. Right
hopefully
there.
it wasn't the train. Hopefully it wasn't the train coming out of the station that was going to be, going down the track that's now stopped and it's got to restart again. Hopefully he's going to be able to continue where he was.
Let's think about this though. Okay, so his hand is injured. Doesn't mean he's not going to be able to rehab or still continue to strengthen and work on his arm, right?
That's true.
Yeah,
there's like,
do a lot of things to keep the arm
and
strength
weights
up.
and everything.
Yeah. So I suspect when he comes back that maybe his arm will be really fresh, actually. And this could go one of two ways. I mean, obviously, you could have lost the momentum that he picked up in those 5 innings. Right. But on the flip side, he could come back with a completely fresh arm, halfway through the season. So it's like suddenly we have one of our 5 starters as if he's coming right out of the gates in April, and that could be a really big blessing actually down the stretch. If you got a guy who's just hasn't pitched a ton of innings all year, has the capability to do so, and now has a completely fresh arm, So we'll see how it goes, obviously, but I think there could be definitely an upside to this if you want to find that silver lining, and it also gives us a chance maybe as a team to. Instead of every 5th day, we got a guy who's really struggling. Now we can give this young guy a chance, and we'll see how that turns out.
Stranger things have happened. Look at last year. We have Milky Cabrera, who was the first half MVP by far, and he goes down to the suspension, and everybody's thinking that's it. Giant season is done, and it had the opposite effect. It really rallied the troops to have an incredible second half. And obviously we don't know how that's going to manifest itself in the next several weeks until he comes back, but it's the same thing. I mean, what if, the Giants over the next month or two perform way better than if Vogelsong had been in the lineup? What if Kickham, who's coming up, performs better than a 7.18 ERA that he had?
It's going to be tough to perform not as, what I mean? If he comes up and he gets a 5 ERA pitcher, which is fully expectable.
It's totally better than Vogelsong's been. So, I mean, it's like, well, it may not be all, just,
it's not all doom and gloom
here
right now. Yeah, for sure. Now, we also lost Casilla as well, but this is not for nearly as long. I think he went on the 15-day, right?
Well, he's on the 15-day, but it does sound like he's going to probably be out. Could be, I think they want to say 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
Because the cyst that he's got is actually lodged in his tibia. They're going to have to remove it, put in medical cement, give him some time to heal.
Okay.
This was actually kind of a bigger deal than we thought. Yeah.
He dealt with last year, correct? And he decided
although
not
it
to
wasn't
get it.
As big of a it wasn't as big of a deal. They decided to go without surgery, and the issue kind of went away.
So they were basically hoping that this wasn't going to get worse, and then it got worse, and now it's time to just take care of it.
That or it may have redeveloped. I'm not entirely clear about that one, but it is definitely time to take care of it. They haven't set a timetable for it yet exactly, but I think that I want to say Greshner noted that he'd be out potentially up to a month.
Okay. Well, this is,
but that's
part
of the reason that we're not using Chad Godin here.
Sure.
It's because that keeps us from losing bullpen depth, and I think the Giants still aren't in a position where they're willing to bring up Heath Hembry. So right now it's sort of, well, then we'll leave Godin where he is. Kickham's pitching really well. Why don't we go ahead and bring Kickham up instead?
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, to me, Casilla is an absorbable loss, especially if it's just 4 weeks because of the depth we have.
This is deep bullpen, yeah.
But yeah, if we moved Godin into the starting rotation, this would be a huge problem for the Giants bullpen for sure. You got to feel like we're okay there, though. Now it's just a matter of is Kickham going to actually give us quality innings? Because, if he goes out there and he just craps the bed every fifth day, we're suddenly going to not feel so deep in our bullpen. So we will see. Rosario also went down to AAA, and Surkamp went on the 60-day DL.
60
That's basically for the 40-man roster, correct?
Correct. That's basically a non-move at this point because he's been gone way longer than 60 days. So.
Yeah. He's still nursing the Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, he's still recovering from that, and that's going to be a while. So, I mean, that's really no big loss.
Because if he was ready to go, he'd be the guy, right? I mean, he'd be the guy to get the call.
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. So we don't really know a lot about this Kickham guy right now, and we'll discuss that in our next segment. But let's real quick talk about one of the big highlights of this last week, which was actually 2 days ago, and something I had actually didn't think I'd ever seen, and then I was reminded of a day in Giants history that I'd hoped to forget. But that is the walk-off inside the park home run. So Angel Pagan in the 10th inning with, I believe it was Torres on second. Am I right about that?
No, it's Crawford.
Okay. Crawford's on second base. And it was actually a really rough game because there was two really bad calls. The Giants had kind of clawed their way back. I think they were down 4-1 at one point. Clawed their way back to get to 4-4. 4-0, yeah. So they clawed their way back to get to 4-4. And I was actually at my girlfriend's graduation party at the time that this happened. And so I wasn't watching the game. I was just kind of keeping tabs on what was going on my MLB app. So I'm like, just seeing what's going on. I'm excited the Giants came back. Then all of a sudden I start getting the text messages. So people that never text me are texting me. Like guys that I don't ever talk to that just know I'm a big Giants fan start texting me. And they're saying, did you just see what happened? And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And then somebody else just texts me, oh my God, Pagan. So I'm, the way the things have been going, I'm thinking, oh my God, did Pagan go down for the
break
year?
Himself in half.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is that it? Is Pagan gone now? So then I just pull up the video and the first headline I see, Pagan ends the game with an inside the park home run. I'm like, oh my God, I have to watch this. I mean, that was very few guys on the Giants make it all the way to home, first of all, on that. But that was just
center fielders.
Yeah, this was not the Aubrey Huff inside the park home run. This was, he actually had to hustle around the base paths to make it. But this was one of the most exciting plays I've seen in baseball in forever, and I'm so bummed. I actually got offered tickets to that game, and I couldn't go.
Oh, again? This seems to be a repeating pattern, Willie.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I tell you what. Every time you get offered tickets that you're thinking about denying, just let us all know because we know it's going to be some incredible game that the Giants win. So just don't do that again.
By the way, I don't know if you guys know this. I was also supposed to go to Matt Cain's perfect game and turn that one down too. So
you're just a bastard.
This is a terrible just life choices that I'm making apparently.
Well, no, keep turning them down. I guess it's true. Magical decision there.
Maybe that's the formula. Is you offer me tickets. So basically, everybody out there, just offer me tickets every day, and I will say no, and then something amazing will happen.
Hey Willie, so the game tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Want to head over to Oakland and so this was. Were you guys watching this game live?
I was listening in my car.
Oh,
yeah, I almost drove off the road.
So yeah. The call was an incredible call. But I don't know if you guys remember the last time we had a walk-off inside the park home run in a game.
Not
the
for the Giants, since that was 1937.
Okay.
31.
The game.
31, excuse me.
A game that the Giants were involved in. I don't know if you guys remember this.
Well, I don't know about it was Philadelphia did it against us in 80, I want to say like 86 or something like that.
Yeah, let me see if I can pull this up. I just want to
I didn't catch that one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Phillies against the Giants. The last Giant to hit not a walk-off home run, sorry. The last Giant to hit a inside the park home run was Dustin Moore against the Reds in 2004, but that wasn't a walk-off.
No.
That was
Aubrey Huff hit a inside the Parker.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about a walk-off, though.
Oh, a walk-off. Okay. Well, yeah.
The last walk-off.
No, Aubrey Huff, he was the last.
Oh, that's right.
No, either he or Connor Gillespie was the last inside the park home run.
But the last.
I think before them was
Sherholtz. 31, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this now, and it might take me a little while, and I'll describe it later. But this was like one of the biggest meltdowns. But the problem is I'm looking this up, and all it's giving me is Angel Pecans. So yeah, so I'll see if I can find this. But yeah, I think you're right. It was the Phillies.
Baseball reference.
Yeah,
come on.
It was the Phillies though, and this was basically like I think it was like bases loaded or something like that, and it was like it kicked away from Kevin Mitchell. And he's like chasing it along the fence, and guys just keep coming around the bases, and then finally the batter, and we're just like, oh my god, that really happened. I remember watching this game, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it was in 1989. So let me see if I can find that, because it was like one of those just ridiculous things you just never expected to see. All right, let's move on while I continue to look for this. What are we doing now? Oh, the big question: is Kickham the right choice to replace Vogelsong? So Chad, you want to give us his stats in the minors, because I actually haven't looked up too much. I looked up for a video of him, and he's got decent stuff, but I don't know a lot about his career so far.
Yeah, he's in the PCL right now in AAA. He is 3-4 with a 4.33 ERA. But of course, we all have to consider the fact that the PCL is a hitter-dominated league, so pitching stats are typically inflated. So you can't necessarily say, 4.3 ERA, that's going to translate into a 7 in the majors. That just typically is not the case. However, his strikeout per 9 is very good. He's got 54 innings pitched, 54 strikeouts, so that's 9 per 9. His other minor league stats have been a little bit better, again, because it's not the PCL. I think for myself, my own opinion originally was that they probably should have gone with Godin. But the fact that Casillas going down, that's a huge cornerstone of their bullpen. And to have him and Godin go away from the bullpen to go to the DL and to replace Vogelsong as a starter, that's two huge pieces in the bullpen to replace. And so I think at this point you got to keep Godin where he is, because he's got to be available for long relief for these 5 starters, because every week at this point through 51 games, I'd say once a week, one of these guys is only going to go 3 or 4 or 5 innings.
Yeah.
And you need Godin to fill in. So I think he really does play a crucial role. And additionally, I mean, how many times have the Giants come back this year from 4, 5, or 6 runs down?
Yeah.
So I think you do have to keep him there in that position and kick him again, like we said earlier. I can't imagine, we could be wrong, I can't imagine through 7, 8 starts he's going to have an ERA worse than Vogelsong at this point.
Well, my question for you then,
it's about a kind of an even trade, or maybe a little bit better at this point.
You're asking the Godin or Kickham question, where if we're saying was Kickham the right choice, you have to mention the other 2 potential choices for the role, which were Shane Lux and Chris Heston.
That's true.
And
sure.
It's worth pointing out. I mean, if you're looking at just sort of, I don't have the advanced stats handy, obviously, because they don't record some of that the same way in the minors, and just the Grizzlies don't have it posted. But the main thing about those 3 is they're all currently stretched out as starters. They've all been starting. They have a 5-day routine. Godin would be, he's been warming up as a reliever, and to then shift him into a regular 5-day schedule where you're expecting him to go at least 5, hopefully 7, where he's normally right now primed to go about 2. That's not necessarily something you can throw him into right away. And that's something Kruko was talking about. Obviously, if Godin's your best option, you go with it. But, there are at least 3 guys in the minors who had really presented themselves as potential options. Mm-hmm. And really, it was just it's really, they took the hot hand and pulled that, because if you look at the overall stats, I mean, Chris Heston has thrown 10 more innings than almost either of the other guys. But Shane Lux actually has a lower ERA than Mike Kickham. Mm-hmm. Better record, lower whip.
But he's had a good last 5 starts, correct? I mean, that's really what they're looking at.
Exactly. They're looking at the hot hand right now, because Kickham is essentially in form. And on the bright side, looking at it, I guess if you're going to ask, is this the right choice? The only thing that I'm looking at then is, if you're talking roster space, Shane Lux is already on the 40-man. Because Surkamp is already on the DL, it's not as big of a deal here, but you are, you're starting Kickham, you're starting his clock. Potentially that doesn't matter. We don't know, how long he's going to stick around or how well we expect him. He's not he was kind of one of the prospects that we were relatively hot on, but not one of the guys like, Hembry or even like, one of the younger guys like Hunter Strickland or anything. He's good, but I don't think anybody's expecting Kickham to profile out as great.
Yeah.
And so there's a question like, does the clock matter as much in this situation? So it's this weird, like, one guy's on the roster, one guy's pitching better. You don't always see the teams say, well, he's pitching better, so we're going to go with that. And that I do feel like within the last week, looking at that, that's what they picked this time. And, that's not always something you see from a business standpoint. So it's kind of nice. It's good for Kickham. It'll be nice to see him get his debut. And, a lot of people definitely wanted to see Shane Lux come up to the majors, including me. But, I'm curious to see that. Everybody always wants to see a debut. So I'm definitely curious to see the new guy.
Well, I think Lux has definitely Lux has a complete game already this year in the minors. And, he's got a better ERA at this point and 5 wins. But, I guess, it's maybe there's going to be some switching around here. And I don't think it's out of the question that we're going to see one of those two guys as well. What's funny is that Runzler was the guy who would have been in the conversation a couple of years ago in this situation, but he's basically now just a relief pitcher. Always going to be a relief pitcher, right?
Used him as a starter a couple of times, but no, not this year, correct. Yeah. This year, we're looking at 20 games, none started.
Yeah. Well, 20 games and 19 innings, so... That means he's not pitching.
They're using him as a lefty specialist at this point a lot of time.
Yeah. So time will tell exactly, but I can't say this is the wrong guy. I don't think that anybody could really argue that this guy doesn't deserve to get a shot here. So, whether he's the right guy or not, I don't think that anybody can say he's the wrong choice.
No, it just would have been a little bit easier to taste if Gardner and the Giants had won today, because it kind of softens the blow of, a guy making his
everything on the new guy. Yeah.
Well, the good news is the person he's pitching against tomorrow is actually a guy who's, while he has gotten hotter as of late, has struggled this year. So at least he's not going up against an ace, to start off his major league career, which is always a little rough.
That's Jared Parker is debatably was kind of an ace for that team last year, but he definitely has kind of hit the ground rolling this year. Not so much running, but more hit the ground face first for a starter. He's definitely kind of picked it up, which is good. Parker's a good kid. It's nice to see him picking that up there. But if the Giants happen to take advantage of him and he gets good, next start, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah. Well, I believe let me see if I can pull his stats as well. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's, 2-6 with about a 6 ERA or something like that. He hasn't, he kind of started off as really, really poorly and has definitely turned it around.
He had a real rough start to the year, it's true.
Yeah. But, all right, so let me real quick before we move on. I did find this. This was May 15th, 1989. We were on the road, and so obviously we were on the road if it was a walk-off by the other team. Right. But this was a 12-inning game, and at the time this happened, the Giants had gone up 2-0. So first of all, we had Scott Gereltz and Don Carmen pitching, and both went 9 scoreless innings. So an amazing pitching duel. And then in the 10th inning, Bob Dernier, who's the guy who actually becomes the guy who hits this inside the park home run, actually stops a rally by popping up a bunt, right? So he's already kind of like feeling like he's a little bit of the GOAT, right, at this point. And then he nails Will Clark at home on a single by Candy Maldonado in the 10th inning, so he kind of redeems himself. Then we get to the 12th inning, and Craig Lefferts is pitching. He hits the ball down the left field line. It goes into the corner, kicks away, and Kevin Mitchell's running in to get it, and it just kicks way away from him. And 2 men on, all 3 come around to score. And this is known as like one of the best calls ever by the Phillies color man at the time, or the play-by-play man at the time.
So wait, what was the final score of that game?
3-2.
Oh, 3-2. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
the Giants were up 2-0 at the time.
You're right.
With 2 men on. And boom, 1-1 pitch, slider down and in, goes down the left field line. Karam's away. Kevin Mitchell's chasing it. Everybody comes around to score. Game over. And it's just one of those, I remember it, the guy going around and Kevin Mitchell running away. I don't remember all of these, who hit it and all that kind of stuff. But
that's a cringer of a game there.
Yeah. You know why I remember this one is because I had that videotape in 1989 of that whole season, and this was like one of those. This was kind of like the dog days of summer games that they talked about. But,
well, at least it was something that didn't cost him the NL pennant. Obviously.
Exactly. We still went on to be the National League representative in the World Series that year. So whatever. It's all good. You can have your little moment during here. All right. So let's move on. What are we talking about now? Tweet at me, brah. We're skipping Armchair Manager this week because Bruce Bochy's the best manager in baseball, and he's clearly never making a
even though he got
Bob
kicked out.
Melvin says so. Come on now.
Yeah. By the way, can we all give Bruce Bochy a little credit for getting kicked out of that game? You love to see Bochy when he does that little kind of like it looks. Not to be disrespectful, but maybe like he's kind of crapped his pants a little bit as he's running out when he's like angry. It's just like this kind of angry waddle,
He doesn't exactly have a stride like
no, not like he used to, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But when he's getting that jog going, you're about to see something go down. I mean, it's like almost a guarantee when he jogs. He means business. He's not going to jog.
Walking out for a discussion there.
No, he was not.
Barking right there.
Yeah, he was ready to go. He was ready to go at it.
Can you believe this weather?
Yeah.
The hell?
All right, so let's move on. Tweet at me, brah. I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to DJP4Cal, who tweeted, "Booing Posey is like booing America," and I agree. Who would boo a man like Buster Posey? He's just, he's everything that anybody could ever want.
That's right. Go ahead and boo
MVP.
Bonds.
Yeah, boo Bonds. I don't care. That doesn't make me mad. But when you boo Posey, I don't get that. I just don't get it. So good on you, DJP4Cal. Chad, what do you got?
All right. So Willie didn't encourage me to do this, but I am going to say at Willie Dills. Tweeted this yesterday. He said, memorial game for my uncle, asked for it, and he came through. Hashtag can be our fan. And he tweeted a picture, of course, of his relatives holding that sign saying Buster hit a home run. So that was pretty cool.
It was very cool. It was like definitely one of the coolest moments I've ever experienced at the ballpark. It was just, when he hit that thing too, it was not a no doubter, I mean, it went about maybe 3-4.
It's like 4 rows up on the left field bleachers. But not only that, we're down the left field line, but to the left of the foul pole, right? So that's, it was luxury box 63. So our view of it, we didn't even see it go into the stands. We just knew that it was going good. I got a good view of the ball coming towards us, but I had to kind of wait for the crowd to know that it actually went out, and it was just like one of those just magical moments at the ballpark. So really, really fun stuff. Thanks for giving that the shout out, Chad. Ben, you got something for us? Yeah, I actually pulled up. Brandon Belt did an awesome Ask Belt thing with the SF Giants Twitter account. Anybody who isn't following Brandon Belt's Twitter, it's at, I think, BBelt9.
Yeah, BBelt9.
Mm-hmm. Because the dude is hilarious.
Yeah,
and he's awesome. Not always intentionally hilarious, and that's probably the best part. Like, that's one of the funniest things. But I just thought it was interesting because we have so many different guys who, you always got to do the same thing. And during the World Series, it was like, same clothes tomorrow. But somebody asked him, he's just like, so what do you do every day, when you're at and he's like, no, I have no pregame rituals or superstitions. I don't want to feel locked into a daily ritual. And I think that's interesting. Like, Brandon Belt just kind of, he plays the game the right way, but at the same time, he's kind of this newer, he's kind of awkward, but he does really well with the social media. And when he's, he kind of does things his own way. And I respect that about him a lot. I think that his Twitter has been a really nice view into his personality. Also, somebody asked him whether he can beat Hunter Pence at ping pong, since he really enjoys ping pong. And he said, I've heard he's pretty good. I would like to set that match up with him. And nice. I would pay to see that.
Nice. Yeah, I think Belt was picked by Brian Strabian as one of the breakout stars on Twitter for the Giants, right? During our episode with Strabian. Yeah.
And I think increasingly we're seeing that come true, just because the stuff that he'll post, it's for the most part, it's pretty innocuous, and at the same time, it's incredibly entertaining, and it's just it's really genuine. Yeah. If you look at that Posey tends to tweet, it's all generally tweets from his publicity team.
It's his team, exactly.
And then just the stuff that Belt puts out, it's just, honest opinions about the Olive Garden.
Yeah,
Done.
it's got to be coming straight from Brandebelt himself.
Well, I don't know if you agree with me, Willie, but when we went up there and we had the fortune of interviewing many of the Giants, granted, Belt was kind of the last one we did, so we were more comfortable, I would say, at that point.
Probably.
But even putting that aside, my personal opinion is that he was the most genuine Giant, and I think he was the easiest to talk to. I mean, you and I were totally relaxed with him. It was just like talking to a dude, about baseball. I mean, honestly, he was very comfortable to talk to.
Yeah. No, he basically just kind of has an easygoing personality, so you didn't really feel... I think if he had been the first guy we talked to, I think it probably would have put us at ease over the rest of the event. I mean, just the way he interacted with us, it wasn't like it was weird, the questions we were asking him. Nothing really phased him, and he gave us, it didn't seem like his answers were rehearsed.
Because you didn't ask him about catcher face.
Well, but it didn't seem like... It didn't seem like these were answers he'd given a bunch of times. You know what I mean? Like, it just kind of seemed like he thought about the question, and then he gave whatever answer it was. And not like, oh, I've said this a bunch of times. I've said how I need to be working on this, whatever it might be. A lot of these guys, I'm sure, Timmy especially. Timmy seems like I've said this a bunch of times, and I'm so sick of saying it, but I'll say it again, stuff like that. But he definitely didn't seem that way at all. So big ups to him. Good call for tweet at me, bro, Ben. All right, new favorite guy time. Chad. I just gave yours away.
Flannery.
Yeah.
Flannery.
But no, you know what? I agree.
I'm his new favorite guy. No. Definitely Flannery. I mean, what is he, 50 something? And you see Pagan. If you watch that, I've seen that replay like 20 times now.
Oh my gosh.
And it's great because right when he hits it, you see him run down the first base line kind of like at 80% speed, because I think he thought there's a chance this is going out. And it didn't. So, boom, he hits the bag and he's running at top speed from first to second, second to third. And he's kind of, you see him hold up a little bit at third base going, oh, this is a stand-up triple. And, of course, Flannery is like, get your ass in gear. You're going home, bitch. And so, sure enough, Pagan goes like, oh, okay. And so he picks it up. And Flannery is running with him. The dude is twice his age, and I swear to God, he was almost as fast as Pagan. And just to see his enthusiasm, and obviously his judgment was correct. He made the right call. And to see him explode like a second grader after Pagan scored, I just think that was the coolest thing in the world.
That was awesome.
To see how much he was into it.
I just wanted to keep that clip of Flannery running away from the dog pile with his arms flailing just forever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always talked about by Kruko and Kuiper as one of the best third base coaches you're going to see in the game of baseball. And he proves it over and over again. I mean, there's probably a lot of people who don't send the runner in that position because you've already tied the game.
Well, you have Scudero coming up now.
Right, and the ball had just gotten into the cutoff man.
Exactly. I mean, there was definitely going to be a play.
Slam looked at it, and Slam said the cutoff man wasn't Tulo. Tulo's got a cannon for an arm. It was DJ LeMahieu. And when you saw that LeMahieu was going out to get the cutoff throw, like LeMahieu hadn't even caught it yet, and he went, LeMahieu's going to get the cutoff throw. I'm sending Pagan because he knows that Pagan's got the speed to do it. And he was just like, all right, that's it. Go.
And these are the things that a third base coach has to decide in an instant. I mean, he obviously prepares himself and knows exactly who the guy is.
Sinking triple ahead of time. And I mean, I guess with Pagan up, that is always something you got to consider.
Yeah. But, I mean, you have to notice, okay, there's one extra bounce there. Okay, the guy bobbled it just a second, and you have to change your mind, and you have to run with it. I mean, you can't wave Pagan at that point and then stop him after he's rounded that bag. He's got too much momentum, and it has to be the right call, and he's one of the best in the business at just making that call with conviction. And he's got conviction when he's running down the line with the guy, too. So fully agree with your pick, Chad. That's a great one.
It's a very tentative sprint down the third base thing. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pick Buster Posey. I mean, I got to.
You got to.
Family asks for a home run, and Buster Posey delivers like an MVP should. I mean, it's a Ted Williams moment. It's a Babe Ruth moment. It's one of those things where, it's promising a kid you're going to hit 3 home runs for him the next day and then doing it type of thing. It's awesome. So big shout out to Buster Posey, who hit a home run at the game where we all really wanted to see Buster Posey hit a home run. So Giants 7-2 victor, or 7-3, I think. They scored a run later on, but big time victory for the Giants and on a game that I'll never forget. So thanks, Buster Posey. You're my new favorite guy. Not like you weren't my new favorite or my old favorite guy, but yeah. Reinforced new favorite guy.
Every favorite is new again.
Yeah. Ben, you got a favorite guy for us this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Marco Scudero.
Okay.
I think that he's been the model of consistency for the last couple of weeks, especially since, it's been about 2 weeks since we did anything. Even when we were in the middle of the losing streak, Scudero was just spraying balls all over the field. And, a lot of them were not cheap hits either.
I picked him 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks later, we're still picking this guy.
We're still picking because, the streak almost went that entire time.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost went, yeah.
Yeah,
so he stopped at, 19 games?
19 games, one short
But 18 of those were 2-hit games.
I know, right?
It's insane.
That's crazy.
If you look at how high his batting average jumped, it's like totally different player. That's just crazy to me. So Scudero who actually swung and missed the other day, and I was dumbfounded.
Yeah, you don't see that.
He has been the model of what we always used to talk about guys being professional batters, and I think Scudero really, if you really want to figure out, so what does it mean to be a professional batter? You're talking guys like Joey Votto who, know exactly what they're going to do with the ball and have a distinct plan, or guys like Scudero who just have a killer eye and a good, grasp of the situation. Yeah. Who just always seem to get the right thing done, whether or not that necessarily means a hit. They almost always seem to get the right thing done.
He always seems to barrel the ball too. Even though he might not be like a huge power guy, when he hits the ball, he hits it sharply, and even he fouls the ball off sharply.
Yeah, he always gets good contact, and when he does, he has a lot of control. He can slap it in whichever direction he needs it to go, and it's a good clean hit.
Yeah.
And since I always seem to pick an honorary favorite guy who's not a Giant, I'm going to do something completely strange and pick somebody from the Los Angeles area. But I'm going to go ahead. My new favorite guy is Robbie Rogers. Some of you might have seen him not quite on the front page of ESPN.
Major League Soccer?
Major League Soccer. Maybe it's a good thing that it's not as big news at this point because, he is if you consider soccer one of the kind of the big five sports in the U.S. right now, and I guess it's like 4.5. It's not really there yet, but it's getting. Robbie Rogers, who came out as gay at the same time he said he was retiring from soccer several months ago, sort of was up in Oregon and, giving a speech to a bunch of kids at a conference. And he said, these kids are standing up for what they believe in and doing things to change the world. And I'm just being kind of scared. So he started getting in touch with some friends and some old contacts and, kind of has worked its way back into soccer. He is now playing for the Los Angeles Galaxy, so I've got kind of mixed feelings about that, but it is exciting to see him playing again. It's nice to see somebody not decide to blow all their talent because of, their own discomfort, and to really feel comfortable in saying, it really isn't that big of a deal now, and maybe that's kind of the big triumph there.
Very cool.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Robbie Rogers is back. He's not necessarily fit yet, but he did play in the Los Angeles Galaxy versus Seattle Sounders game just a couple days ago, and it's nice to see him back in soccer.
Absolutely. That's very cool. All right, so let's see. Let's hate on some people now that we've shown so much love.
Awesome.
I'm going to start us off, and some people might completely disagree with me. But you know what? I'm going to hate on the guy who invented the half A's, half Giants hat. Because, come on, just pick a side already.
Nobody in the Bay Area likes them both the same.
No, you don't. You got one that you like more than the other.
Nobody likes them both the same.
It was like some Swiss baseball fan or something.
But this was a big thing in 1989. This became a huge thing. And this just screamed fair weather fan when this started, because it's basically like, both teams are in the World Series.
Area,
I don't care about baseball, so I'm going to support both teams, and it's like,
I wanted to joke that it was an Englishman.
I'm hedging my bet.
This podcast, so I can't do that because he's too old.
But see, like Ben, you to me are a baseball fan who happens to have a favorite team. Right,
the Tigers.
Right.
So the thing, to me, it's like you also enjoy the A's because you're a fan of the game of baseball.
Right, and I'm a fan of the local area, and I didn't grow up rabid. I just grew up with a strong predilection towards one team, and maybe that's a lot about my mom too, and sort of just how she is and her personality, because it kind of fits that. But yeah, I agree. I see myself as a fan of baseball who happens to have grown up a Giants fan, and so naturally will always gravitate in that direction.
Sure, but you have A's gear, and if you go to an A's game, you can sport that A's gear, right? So
as long as the Giants aren't playing.
Yeah. So to me, like that's like maybe what this hat would be okay for, but in that sense, it's still not. You know what I mean? It's like, no, if you're going to sport the A's, it's because the Giants are not not around.
I mean, clearly most parents know. Oh, no, I was going to say most parents know that, if they have 2 or more children, they're going to sport the colors of the hat that shows that they love each child equally. But deep down inside, they know they have a favorite.
They have a favorite.
Right.
That's a really good analogy, right?
The problem is neither organization is going to be upset if you like one more than the other. The kids are going to be real upset if you like one more than the other.
It's pretty true, yeah. But
Dad knows
it's
that very well, I'm sure.
It's just one of those things that just, to me, if you put that hat on, everyone knows you're a Fairweather fan almost instantly. So if you're a Fairweather fan who doesn't want people to think of you in that way, skip that, pick a side, get that hat.
Tell me that you guys saw the photo on Twitter of the guy wearing the half Cespedes, half.
Oh, I did see that. Yeah, that's just a mess, dude.
I can't.
First of all, please don't tell me this guy spent $180 on each jersey, or whatever it costs to get like the legit jersey, and then cut them in half.
The question is, if it says Cespedes, does the other person say? Does somebody else have one that says "Pose it is"?
Yeah, probably.
That's what it should have said.
Yeah,
viable.
That actually would have been better.
Too hard to say. It definitely should have said "Pose it is."
Yeah, Pose it is sounds better.
I love that.
All right, so Chad, you got somebody we should hate on today?
Oh yeah. So Ben corrected me at the beginning of the show. I had the Angel Hernandez, but it is correct. It's Alfonso. Sorry, I said Hernandez. Alfonso Marquez, who of course was the umpire during the game in which Pagan hit the walk-off home run. So he blew a couple of calls, one at home plate, which replays clearly show that Belt was safe, and as well as another play at third base. And this is a side conversation, but it does beg the question, kind of like in the NBA and in the NFL, when it's the end of the game. You should review all goal line plays. You should review all buckets. You should review all plays at home. Maybe not plays at first or second or third or fly balls or traps, but scoring plays is kind of a huge deal, especially in a 1-run game or a 2-run game. So,
like 7th, 8th, 9th inning or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So, because the replays were pretty clear that Belt's foot was in there before the tag, and that would, had a huge impact on the game. Right. But I do have to thank him, because if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have been treated to Pagan's inside the park home run. So it all worked out in the end.
Sure. Let's let me give you guys a little bit of information about Alfonso Marquez while we're at it here. Where's number 72?
I was just looking up the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's number 72?
I appreciate that he's the first Mexican-born umpire in Major League history.
Sure.
I think that's
very cool. Unfortunately, he's not done so well since then. Let's see. 42 career ejections. Never called a no-hitter. And let's see, claims to fame, did not eject Tigers pitcher Kenny Rogers for apparently having pine tar in his pitching hand during Game 2 of the 2006 World Series. Marquez was also the home plate umpire the day Pedro Martinez knocked Don Zimmer to the ground during Game 3. You guys remember that?
That was class.
That was
I
amazing.
love that.
All right, here's another little thing. This is from Andy Goldblatt. Marquez has a significantly smaller than average strike zone. Going by K per BB, which is strikeout per walk, only 5 umpires have a smaller strike zone. Among the younger crop of umpires, Marquez ranks among the more feisty. His career ejection rate is 2.7%, some 20% higher than the norm. By the way, I had no idea people were keeping track of umpire ejection rates. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And then here's something from an angry blog commenter, and I'm going to censor this. And while I tried to never get too hostile, Alfonso Marquez can eat my a-hole. I should only be so lucky if I could suck at my job as much as he does and still get paid. What an effing clown. There you go. All right. That's him. That's Alfonso Marquez for you. That's from Deadspin, which if you don't go to Deadspin, it's a fun little sports website you should check out.
Deadspin does an interesting job of how they moderate their comments.
It's true.
That was a good one.
It's true. All right, Ben, I know you didn't write anything down, but I'm going to give you a chance if you want to hate on somebody to go for
I'm going to go ahead and pick another umpire.
Okay.
And I think that says something about the state of the game that we're doing. We're picking a fair number of umpires. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Gary Darling. Gary Darling was actually missed a call in the Angels and Dodgers game today. Eric Ibar should have been safe when it was another missed catch, call him out, weird, missed tag, phantom tag out, and the Dodgers ended up winning 8-7, close one.
Oh man,
that definitely was influenced by the missed call.
Wow.
So I wouldn't even say that he's the worst. We've definitely got worse umpires out there, but I am going to go ahead and hate on Gary Darling for gifting a win to the Dodgers today.
Yeah. Let me just give you a note on Gary Darling while we're at it. In August 1991, Darling filed a $5 million defamation lawsuit against Lou Piniella, who claimed that Darling didn't call his team's games fairly. The suit was settled out of court that December. After the settlement, Piniella issued a statement. Here's his statement. The Major League umpires are, in my opinion, the finest officials in any sport today. Under difficult circumstances, they acquit themselves with the very highest degree of professionalism, and this has earned the respect and esteem of everyone in the game. I have high regard for Gary Darling's integrity and deeply regret comments that may have maligned his character in any way. Like his fellow umpires, he does his utmost day in and day out to fairly and dispassionately get the right call. I may not agree with each and every call, but that does not alter the fact that the Major League umpires are essentially simply the best.
Nice.
That sounds like
Simply the best.
basically this dude filed a lawsuit just to get Lou Piniella to
apologize.
Yeah, to apologize. It's like one of those lost bets in the SF Giants subreddit where like a Dodger fan loses and has to talk about why Brandon Crawford is a future Hall of Famer or something. That's basically what this was.
By the way, I should point out that
ridiculous.
Gary Darling is the balk game.
Oh, is he?
The phantom balk got called on Tim Lincecum.
No way. Okay.
Darling was the home plate umpire for that game.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that's interesting. Oh, here it is. Notable alleged blown calls. Rockies Giants, April 29, 2008.
Yep.
Crazy. All right. Well, there you go.
Another one, the Giants, August 12th, 2009. Giants and the Dodgers, August 16th, 2009. Oakland A's and the Chicago White Sox.
Wow, screw that guy. All right. We're done hating on people, and now it's time to make ourselves feel better and make all of you feel better and talk about why we will win it all. So, Ben, let's just start off with you if you got anything for us. I'm sure you got something for us.
I'm sure. Well, I'm going to start with Gary Darling can only eject both our manager and bench coach in one game once, and he's already done that.
So that probably won't happen again.
So that's probably out. I mean, how many times? Now, I think that we're just having some trouble putting all the parts together, and I feel like the way that this team plays, I think that this is a team that's going to gel partway through the year. And it's going to look a lot stronger. I think that we haven't seen the whole team working at once yet. On the days where the pitching is strong, we tend not to get a lot of offense. On the days where the offense is strong, the pitching tends to give up home runs. Even though we're winning a lot of those games, something's not firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree with that for sure. Chad, what do you got?
I don't think Arizona and Colorado can both sustain their current momentum. I mean, Arizona, more so than Colorado, I think, is capable of doing that. But I don't expect both teams to be significantly above 500 by the end of the year.
Okay.
But I really do concur with Ben on this one in the fact that, I think the Giants, we've been talking about them very positively over our last couple of podcasts, saying, man, if their pitching was anything like the last 2 years, they'd be, 10, 15, 20 games above 500 right now. And they've actually dropped in the 500 standings since our last podcast. They're only 5 games above 500 right now. I really think this team is underperforming. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine them getting much worse. I mean, I'm not going to say that they're not going to drop back down to 500. Anything could happen. They could lose, 5 out of 7 and be close to that mark. But I really do think by the end of the year, they're going to be right back up the 94, 95 win total again. And so I don't think Arizona or Colorado can match that. I think they could be 82, 83, 85 win teams, but not in the 90s.
Yeah.
So
no, I fully agree with that, and I'm gonna piggyback on that by saying that, and this is also partially what Ben was saying, that our pitching won't stay this bad, cannot stay this bad, especially when we're talking about starting pitching. I mean, the bullpen's been fine actually, but the starting pitching will not stay this bad for an entire season. I just don't see that happening. This is not the reality of the SF Giants starting rotation. And I do think that when Vogelsong comes back, I do think he's going to be the Vogelsong that we're used to seeing once he it may take him a couple games to get back into the groove. But, he'll get his work before he actually hits the field again. So I think we're going to see Bumgarner remain as one of the top pitchers in baseball. We're going to see Kane get back into form. We're going to see Zito kind of do what Zito's can do, which is, he's going to be a 3.5 or so
which
pitcher.
Is increasingly.
Yeah.
Fair amount.
Yeah, and I think Lincecum's going to be inconsistent, but more consistent than he was last year, and that's good enough for right now. And once we get Vogelsong back doing what he's supposed to be able to do, then we're going to be just fine because our offense is so much better that we don't need the same pitching we got in, say, 2011 to win with this ball club. So once we get it back on track, we're going to win it all. There you go. All right. That's going to do it for episode 49, the Javier Lopez episode. And really good to have Ben Lee back. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you get back to 100% very soon. And, look forward to talking about how the Giants won it all again in 2013 with you all year long. So, all right. Thank you, Chad, for being here again. My name is Willie Dills. If you want to follow us, you can do so. We're all on Twitter, singularly at torturecast.com or at torturecast, just at torturecast. Each one of us individually is also on Twitter. You can follow Chad at ChadK21. I am at Willie Dills, and Ben is at Fried Duck. You can also find our blog and all of our podcasts on torturecast.com. You can like our page on Facebook. You can donate money to us using PayPal if you like. And we are, of course, hosted on Podomatic. That's
and YouTube.
And you can find us on YouTube. Thanks, Chad, for reminding us. Also, we're looking forward to hitting the press box again real soon. So look for those episodes because those dates are imminent. And I'm sure we'll be doing some interviews as well. And we'll see how much access we actually get, but really excited for that. And you should especially be following us on Twitter because it will be a Twitter extravaganza.
Fiasco.
Yeah, when we are in the press box. All right, so
fiasco.
Yeah, or a fiasco, one or the other. All right, so again, everybody, thank you for listening to the Torchcast episode 49. We'll see you next time. Boom!
A big thank you to everybody for listening to the TortureCast, the podcast by and for fans of the San Francisco Giants. Follow us on Twitter at TortureCast. You can also like us on Facebook or check out our blog at torturecast.com. I also want to say thank you to Ashcon and Bailey for letting us use their song Feeling Like a Giant for our intro. For Ben Lee and Chad King, my name is Willie Dills saying, we'll see you next time.